Good morning. Today I will be talking about campus recreation, its importance to us as students, and two revolutionary benefits that it has to offer. So what is campus recreation and why is it significant? Well, I define campus recreation as it being centered around the engagement of students, most often via physical activity, and is arguably the most effective way to maintain physical health and mental well-being, meet other people, and broaden your horizon of recreational interests. Why is it significant? I would argue that campus recreation is significant because it is often the heartbeat for a campus full of students who want to continue to stay healthy. When students are overwhelmed with homework, assignments, exams, and other external stressors, they need somewhere where they are able to clear their mind, release dopamine, endorphins, serotonin, and all the good stuff, and maybe even break a little sweat. According to Best Colleges, about 28% of American college students will experience depression before they even graduate. Without campus recreation, I believe clinical depression for students would be higher than it already is, which leads me to my first positive benefit about campus recreation. In general, the academic benefit that you get from campus recreation means that more frequent physical activity has a significant correlation to a higher GPA. In a study conducted by the NERSA Foundation, researchers discovered the shocking truth that those who had participated more regularly in any kind of informal exercise or just visited the university rec space more had the highest GPA, IPAQ, which is the International Physical Activity Questionnaire, and the lowest BMI and fat intake. You can see here on the graph to the right, the higher users had a higher GPA, higher IPAQ, and a lower BMI compared to non-users and low users over here. Statistics like these have implications, and according to that same study, participants who used campus recreation facilities the most, the high users, had higher GPA, lower BMI, and engaged more in desirable health behaviors, and had a more limited involvement in sedentary behaviors than those in the other groups. What this indicates is that the value of campus recreation programs extends beyond just the recruitment and retention of students, and showing that a high level of student involvement in campus recreation is associated with academic success and good health. And not only will campus recreation make you a grade A student, but it will also grant you the chance to meet other people with similar interests that you may otherwise have never met. So let's take a look at the second benefit of campus recreation. Healthy community-driven identity. Students will often become more engaged the more people they engage with, which is what I find to be true of myself and of the surrounding community here at UT. Dr. John Miller of the NERSA Recreational Sports Journal published an analysis studying the impact of a university recreation center on social belonging and student retention. Dr. Miller points out that with a few outlying data points, most survey data provides overwhelming support for the prominence of recreational sports programming on college campuses. What he found was that in general, the more involved in and committed to the university students become, the more likely they will persist at the university, as mentioned above. Personally, I quickly found a friend group my first year at UT through taking a volleyball class and continuing to play with several of those people recreationally. To this day, there are still people that I love, communicate regularly with, and interact with on a weekly basis. On the next slide, you will find some of Dr. Miller's research, including the survey he proposed to students and their respective answers, as well as an important graph of a cycle that pertains to student retention. Here's the chart with Dr. Miller's research analysis and different prompts that he gave to students. Here's the mean answers and the standard deviation from those answers on the right. So a few of the strongest proofs of evidence in this chart occur in the fifth and sixth questions, right here and right here. The fifth prompt says, "My self-confidence has increased since taking part in activities offered by the Student Recreation Center." As we can see, the average answer was around a 2.64, with a standard deviation of 1.01. And before I go any further, I would like to also point out that the scale that Dr. Miller was using meant that 1, you would strongly agree, 2, you just agree, 3 was a neutral stance, 4, you disagree, and 5, you strongly disagree. So 2.64 is a pretty good score, especially with a deviation of 1.01, meaning it can be as low as 1.63. As we can see, the average answer was around that 2.64. Now, I believe this question is directly related to what we talked about earlier in this presentation, with as many as 28% of college students being depressed. Community promotes self-confidence. Self-confidence battles many types of depression. The 6th prompt right here says that my leadership ability has increased as a result of participation in Student Recreation Center activities. That scored with a 2.75, as we can see right here, with the same standard deviation as the one above. What this means is that, on average, students tend to agree that the leadership abilities that they have developed are in part thanks to campus recreation involvement. Leadership is just one of the most highly sought after strengths to have on your resume today. And it can start with taking the first step at your student recreation center. That's it for my presentation. Thank you guys for participating and listening.